हरिः ओं नमः सर्वेभ्यः। अष्टाध्यायी परिचयः इत्यस्य अद्य 29 पाठः। अस्मिन् वर्गे विसर्गादेशस्य सूत्राणाम् अध्ययनं कुर्मः। शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। येनाक्षरसमाम्नायमधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। वाक्यकारं वररुचिं भाष्यकारं पतञ्जलिं पाणिनिं सूत्रकारं च प्रणतोऽस्मि मुनित्रयम्। अस्माकं वर्गस्य द्वे प्रयोजने अष्टाध्याय्याः आहत्य षट्शतस्य सूत्राणां व्याख्यासहितम् उदाहरणसहितं च अध्ययनं, तथा च अष्टाध्याय्याः प्रथमाध्यायस्य प्रथमपादस्य द्वितीयपादस्य च कण्ठस्थीकरणम्। एतानि सर्वाणि अद्य अधीयमानानि सूत्राणि सन्ति। अस्मिन् प्रकरणे अस्माभिः आदौ अट्सन्धिप्रकरणं, तदनन्तरम् अट्सन्धौ प्रकृतिभावः, तदनन्तरं च हल् सन्धिप्रकरणं सर्वम् अधीतम्। इदानीं द्वौ वर्गौ अवशिष्टौ। तत्र अद्यतनपाठे विसर्गादेशानाम् अध्ययनं, तथा च अग्रिमे पाठे रेफादेशानाम् अध्ययनं कुर्मः। सिद्धान्तकौमुदीम् एकवारं पश्यामश्चेत् सिद्धान्तकौमुद्यां सन्धिप्रकरणं कथमस्ति इति चेत् आदौ तत्र अट्सन्धिप्रकरणं, तदनन्तरं प्रकृतिभावः, तदनन्तरं हल् सन्धिप्रकरणं, तदनन्तरं विसर्गसन्धिः तथा च स्वादिसन्धिः इति प्रकरणद्वयं विद्यते। अस्माभिः अपि तेनैव क्रमेण अध्ययनम् इदानीं क्रियमाणम् अस्ति। अद्यतनपाठे यत्किमपि पठामः तत् सामान्यरूपेण विसर्गसन्धिप्रकरणस्य सूत्राणाम् अध्ययनं, श्वस्तने वर्गे च स्वादिसन्धिप्रकरणस्य सूत्राणाम् अध्ययनं। परन्तु लघुसिद्धान्तकौमुदीं पश्यामश्चेत् लघुसिद्धान्तकौमुद्यां केवलम् अच्सन्धिः अस्ति, प्रकृतिभावः इति पृथक् प्रकरणं न वर्तते, हल् सन्धिः अस्ति, तदनन्तरं च विसर्गसन्धिः अस्ति, स्वादिसन्धिः इति पृथक् प्रकरणं न वर्तते। स्वादिसन्धेः सर्वाण्यपि सूत्राणि विसर्गसन्धिप्रकरणे एव समाविष्टानि सन्ति। So this is another reason why there is a confusion between what is a Swadi Sandhi and what is a Visarga Sandhi. But that's what we are going to fix in today's and tomorrow's class. Prarabha mein, I'm going to go slow, and at any point in time, if you have questions, feel free to raise the hands. The only request is the question should be only related to the material that is being discussed. The class is pretty long. We will take a small break in middle if for 1 hour we are continuously talking on only few slides are covered. But if we are able to go faster, I might be able to finish the class in the regular time also. Let's see. So this whole discussion of whatever is the Visarga Sandhi slash Swadi Sandhi and so on, it starts with the concept of Padanta Sakaraha. Padante Vidyamanaha Sakaraha. पदान्ते भिन्नाः वर्णाः भवितुम् अर्हन्ति, परन्तु विशेषरूपेण सकारस्य अत्र चिन्तनं कृतमस्ति। एतादृशः पदान्तसकारः संस्कृतव्याकरणे द्विप्रकारकः अस्ति, द्विविधः अस्ति। प्रथमं तु पदम् अस्ति। पदम् इत्युक्ते सुबन्तं नो चेत् तिङन्तं। अतः सुप् प्रत्ययस्य अन्ते नो चेत् तिङ् प्रत्ययस्य अन्ते यः सकारः विद्यते सः पदान्तसकारः। सो दैट इज द सिम्प्लेस्ट एग्जाम्पल। सकारान्त सुप्रत्ययः सकारान्त तिङ् प्रत्ययः अस्ति, तस्य अन्ते विद्यमानः सकारः। सो राम इति शब्दस्य प्रथमैकवचने राम प्लस् सु इत्यत्र उकारस्य इत्संज्ञा लोपे कृते रामस् इति यदवशिष्यते तत्र रामस् इत्यत्र सकारः पदान्तसकारः अस्ति। एवमेव पठधातोः लट् लकारे प्रथमपुरुष द्विवचने तिप् तस् झि तस् इति प्रत्यये परे पठ प्लस गणविकरणम् अ प्लस तस् पठतस् इत्यत्र विद्यमानः सकारः पदान्तसकारः अस्ति। नदी इति शब्दस्य षष्ठी द्विवचने ओस् इति प्रत्ययः अस्ति। नदी प्लस ओस् यणादेशे कृते नद्योस् इत्यत्र विद्यमानः सकारः अपि पदान्तसकारः अस्ति। So this is simplest to understand. There is yet another type of sakara in Sanskrit which is a padanta sakara. पदसंज्ञकस्य प्रातिपदिकस्य नो चेत् पदसंज्ञकस्य धातोः अन्ते विद्यमानः सकारः। Now what is meant by this पदसंज्ञक प्रातिपदिक and पदसंज्ञक धातु? यदा कदाचित् प्रातिपदिकात् विहितस्य सुप् प्रत्ययस्य नो चेत् धातोः विहितस्य तिङ् प्रत्ययस्य लोपः जायते तदा अपि प्रत्ययलोपे प्रत्ययलक्षणम् इत्यनेन तत् सुप् तेन सुप् प्रत्ययेन नो चेत् तेन तिङ् प्रत्ययेन उक्ता पदसंज्ञा मूलस्य प्रातिपदिकस्य मूलस्य धातोः वा सन्दर्भेण अवश्यं विधीयते. So we have seen these examples in case of nakaranta words where we learned the sutram nalop of pratipadikantasya pratipadikantam yat padam tadantasya nakarasya tatra asmabhihi lopah kritah. अनेनेव प्रकारेण अत्र प्रातिपदिकान्तं यत् पदं नो चेत् धातु सम्यकं यत् पदं तस्य अन्ते विद्यमानः सकारः अपि पदान्तसकारः. उदाहरणानि. पयस् इति शब्दः अस्ति मिल्क्. पयस् इति शब्दस्य प्रथमा एकवचने पयस् प्लस् सु इति स्थिते सु इति प्रत्ययस्य कथञ्चित् लोपः भवति. सु इति प्रत्ययस्य लोपे कृते पयस् इत्यत्र विद्यमानः सकारः प्रातिपदिकस्य अन्तिमः सकारः अस्ति. कंपेयर एंड कॉन्ट्रास्ट दिस विद रामस्. रामस् इत्यत्र प्रत्ययस्य सकारः, पयस् इत्यत्र प्रातिपदिकस्य सकारः. तथापि अत्र प्रातिपदिकस्य पदसंज्ञा अस्ति, अतः अस्य प्रातिपदिकस्य अन्ते विद्यमानः सकारः पदान्तसकारः एव स्वीक्रियते. सेम पयस् वर्ड, पयस् शब्दस्य तृतीया द्विवचने पयस् प्लस भ्याम इत्यत्र भ्याम इत्यस्य लोपः न भवति, परंतु कथंचित बाय सम सूत्रम दैट वी हैव नॉट येट स्टडीड कथंचित पयस् इत्यस्य साक्षात् पदसंज्ञा भवति. So there is a sutram which will say in presence of the bhyam pratyaya payas gets a padasanya. So पयस् इत्यस्य कथंचित् पदसंज्ञा भवति, अतः पयस् शब्दस्य अन्ते विद्यमानः सकारः पुनरेकवारं पदान्तसकारः अस्ति. We have taken two examples of pratipadicas. Let's also take an example of dhatu. So हिंस इति धातुः अस्ति. अस्य धातोः सप्तमगणस्य धातुः रुधादिगणस्य धातुः हिंस इति धातोः लङ् लकारे मध्यम पुरुष एकवचने. So त ताम अन स तम त स is the pratyay over there. So मध्यम पुरुष एकवचने अडागमः तदनन्तरं हिन इति धातुः तस्य हिंस इति धातुः तस्य किञ्चित् परिवर्तनं कृत्वा इदानीं हिनस इति अस्ति. So हिनस, that's the dhatu, and sa, that's the pratyaya, the ting pratyaya. इति स्थिते कथंचित् स इति प्रत्ययस्य लोपः भवति. स इति प्रत्ययस्य लोपे कृते अहिनस् इति यद् अवशिष्यते तद् धातु सम्यकं पदम्. अस्य अन्ते विद्यमानः सकारः अपि पदान्तसकारः. अनेन प्रकारेण the first thing before we enter any of those visarga sandhis and rutvas and so on, most important thing to understand is what exactly is padanta sakaraha. Why is that necessary? Because the very fundamental sutra that we want to learn, we want to understand is sasajushoruhu. 8.2.66 sasajushoruhu. अनेन सूत्रेण किमुच्यते? पदांत सकारः यः अस्ति, both types of पदांत सकार, तस्य रु इति आदेशः विधीयते. So sa present at the end of the pada becomes ru, and we explicitly say this is jashtvaapavadaha. Jashtvam ityasya ayam apavadaha. Katham apavadaha? If you take the word payasa and there is a padanta sakara, there is jhalam jashonte. Padante vidyamanasya jhal varnasya jash varnadeshah bhavati. That jhal letter is sakara because sakara is also part of the jhal pratyahara. Asya jhalam jashonte इत्यनेन जश् वर्णादेशः अवश्यं संभवति. दन्ताः इति सकारस्य उच्चारणस्थानं तादृशमेव दकारः इति जश्वर्णः तस्यापि उच्चारणस्थानं दन्ताः. अतः पयस् इत्यस्य सकारस्य जष्ट्वे कृते दकारादेशः संभवति. This particular conversion, jashtva, is being blocked by sasajushoruhu and a ru adesha is given. This is called jashtvaapavadaha. The interesting point is ससजुषोरुः इति 8 to 66 इति अस्ति। झलां जशोन्ते इति 8 to 39 इति अस्ति। Technically, Jhalam Jashonte is much earlier in Tripadi than Sasajushuru. By simple rules of Tripadi, one might think that Jhalam Jashonte will always execute because Sasajushoruhu is a siddha towards Jhalam Jashonte. परंतु त्रिपाद्यामपि उत्सर्गापवादत्वम् अवश्यं विधीयते। तत्रापि अपवादः उत्सर्गस्य कृते अवश्यं सिद्धः अस्ति। सो ऑल आवर बेसिक्स आर नाउ कमिंग बैक। अतः अत्र 8 to 39 झलां जशोन्ते इत्यनेन उक्तस्य जष्ट्वस्य अपवादरूपेण 8 to 66 ससजुषोरुः इति ऋत्वम् अवश्यं प्रवर्तते अयं जष्ट्वापवादः। सो simple examples. Rama plus su is samnyalope krute ramas ramaru. You do not need any paranimittam. Kimapi paranimittam na avashakam. Kevalam padantatvam avashakam. Padante vidyamanasya sakarasya. And that's what that previous slide was about. You do not pick up any random sakara. Now that you have a precise understanding of what a padanta sakara is, this conversion to ru will now make sense. Patha plus a plus tas. So that's the tinganta. Pathatas, pathataru. Again, padanta sakar is converted to ru. Payas plus su. Su pratyय से लोपे कृते पयस इति अवशिष्यते तस्य पदसंज्ञा अस्ति सकारस्य रु इति आदेशः भवति। पयस प्लस भ्याम सकारस्य कथंचित् तत्र पयस इत्यस्य पदसंज्ञा अस्ति अतः सकारस्य ऋत्वे कृते पयरु प्लस भ्याम। That is the essence of half part of the sutram sasajushoruhu. Only sa part is being discussed. Padanta sakarasya rutvam bhavati. Now that is actually the essence of the sutram. So 99.99% of the times sasajushoruhu sutram will be used for conversion of padanta sa to ru. However, just for alpaksharatvam, Panini Maharshi also clubbed one more word in that sutram, sajush iti shabdaha. So sajush ityukte companion, sahayogi. Iti shabdasya antima shakarasya api sasajushorhu iti sutrena ru adeshaha vidhiyate. So it is just one specific word and it's almost always overlooked because 99.99% of the time the sasajushoru sutram will be used for padanta sakar and not sajusha. In fact, if I recollect right, if you go to this sasajushoru sutram and if you go to Siddhanta Kaumudi or one commentary somewhere, it just doesn't, it's over here, sajush is written over here, but padanta se sajush shabdasya cha ruhu syat, and this sutram comes in the context of sakara. So shivas plus archa ityatra sakarasya sandarbhena tena kinchit पाठ्यमानम् अस्ति तत्र सः पदान्तस्य सस्य सजुष शब्दस्य च रुः स्यात् इति वदति. So sajush he is completely ignoring. He is just giving sajush in the sutrartha, but everywhere he is in this entire prakaranam, you will see no reference to sajush is done. It's only the sakara that is being discussed. But let's look at the sutram because that sajush part is also actually very easy. So sajush इति शब्दस्य अंतिम शकारस्य अपि रु आदेशः विधीयते. सेम अयमपि जष्ट्वापवादः. If you take the word shasha meaning 6, you have seen a jashtva happening on shasha. शकारस्य जष्ट्वे डकारादेशः षड इति भवति. अनेनैव प्रकारेण सजुष इत्यस्य शकारस्य अपि जष्ट्वे कृते सजुड इति स्यात्, परंतु तथा न भवति. अयम अत्र जष्ट्वापवादः. अतः सजुष प्लस सु इत्यत्र सु प्रत्ययस्य लोपे कृते सजुष इत्यस्य पदसंज्ञायां सत्यां शकारस्य जष्ट्वं बाधित्वा ऋत्वं भवति. So sajush becomes sajuru, and this is only one specific word, not other shakaranta words, only one specific sajush word. Whereas for sakara, it is a general category. Sarvaha padanta sakaraha tasya sasajushoruhu ityinena rutvam bhavati. And in fact, if we go to Ashtadhyayi and if we see the sutram sasajushoruhu, And if you look at the ordering of the sutrams, starting from this Sasajushoruhu, it's the actual Rutva Prakaranam that starts in Tripadi. So you have Sasajushoruhu, Avayavaha, Shvetavaha, Purodascha, Ahan, Rosupi, and so on up to Sipidhatorurva Dascha. Till this sutram Dascha, there is whole set of sutras where Rutva conversion is given. So something getting converted to Ru is this particular entire Rutva Prakaranam goes till 8275. And then there is another Rutva Prakaranam which is at the beginning of 831, which we have already seen. So Maturasoru Sambuddhau Chandasi, Atranunasika Purvasya Tuva, Atoti Nityam. In this particular section, we have seen one sutram called Naschavya Prashan, where Padanta Nakara, like Bhavan Tarati, that Padanta Nakara is also converted to Ru. So there are two separate Rutva Prakaranas in Ashtadhyayi. One Rutva Prakaranam is in the place where Sasajushoru is present. Second Rutvam is in the place where that Atranunasika Purvasya Tuva Matuvasoru Sambuddhau Chandasi that is present. So idam avadheyam Ashtadhyayam Sasajushoruhu ityataha dascha iti yavatsu sutreshu भिन्नानाम शब्दानाम ऋत्वादेशः पाठिता अस्ति. So the most important sutram is Sasajushoruhu that will convert sa to ru. But then there are many other words. So for example, ahan is the word. Ahan means day, divasaha. So ahan ityasya nakarasya api rutvam bhavati. Just like the way sajush ityasya shakarasya rutvam bhavati. In same way, ahan ityasya nakarasya rutvam bhavati. So then Panini Maharshi has created a sutram. It will be somewhere over here 8. In the Sasajushoruhu sutram, look at this. There is a sutram called ahan. In this way, different specific words, their rutva is being told in all the remaining sutras. The most important and the most general sutram, which is the only one we are going to see, is the Sasajushoruhu, where the entire Padanta Sakara, whatever word it is converted to Ru. In all other sutras, specific instances like different ending letters, those instances are given. We will keep them aside. What we need to understand is Sasajushoruhu is not a single sutram. It is a part of the entire family of sutras called Rutva Prakaranam. So Ashtadhyayam Sasajushoruhu ityataha dascha iti yavatsu sutreshu भिन्नानाम शब्दानाम ऋत्वादेशः पाठितः अस्ति. In the same way, 831 Matvasoru Sambuddhau Chandasi, that's the Atranunasika Purvasya Tuva and Atoti Nityam and so on. Bhavan Starati. We have seen this in the Hal Sandhi Prakaranam. So that is another Rutva Prakaranam. Ityeteshu Sutreshu api bhinnanam shabdanam Rutvadeshah Pathita asti. So what are the sutras of the Rutva Prakaranam in Ashtadhyayi? Iti prashne prushte tatra Rutva Prakaranam dvayoho sthalayoho vartate. 8266 and 831. This is the Rutva Prakaranam. We are going to refer back to this Rutva Prakaranam again and again, mainly in tomorrow's class, because there are Rutvadeshaha that we are going to study tomorrow and also a little bit later in today's class. So with this background, now let us study the Sutram Sasajushoruhu. There is nothing to study actually. I have explained it entirely, but let's understand the wording of the Sutram. So Padantasya Sasya Sajush Shabdasya cha Ruhu Syat. Sa Sajushoho Shashthi Dvivachanam Ruhu. Padasya iti adhikarah asti. Sajushoho Padasya Ruhu. Sasajushoho Padasya. Immediately the Tadanta Vidhi should come in mind. Sasajushoho is the Visheshanam. Padasya is the Visheshya. Tadanta Vidhi bhavati. Sakarantasya Padasya Sajush Shabdanta Padasya, which means Sajush Shabdasya. So Sakaranta Padasya Sajush Shabdanta Padasya. Sajush iti Sakaranta Napumsakalinga Shabdaha Sahayogi iti tasya arthaha companion. Asya Ruhu iti bhavati. Ruhu iti Adeshaha. Ruhu, you can write it just like this. But understand that the ukara is anunasika, pratignanunasikyaha paniniyaha. The students of Paninian grammar are known to understand the anunasika swara not merely by writing but by the parampara. So the parampara tells us that the ukara of ru is anunasika. It is always better if you write it with the chandra bindu, but the tradition is a little bit lenient. Therefore, in the Sutra Patha, you will just see Ru without Ukara, without Anunasika symbol on that Ukara, but still understand it is definitely Anunasika, and therefore by Upadeshe Junasika ita asya it samnya bhavati. अतः रु इति आदेशः अयम् उकारः अनुनासिकः इत्सम्यकः तस्य लोपे कृते र इति अवशिष्यते. दिस इज अ सिंगल लेटर आदेश. Therefore, अलोन्त्यस्य इति अन्त्यादेश रूपेण विधीयते. इत्युक्ते पदान्त सकारस्य नो चेत् सजुष शब्दस्य अन्तिम षकारस्य पदान्ते रुः इति आदेशः भवति. राम प्लस सु पदान्त सकारः इट् सु प्रत्यय उकारस्य इत्संज्ञा लोपः सकारः सकारस्य ऋत्वे कृते ससजुषुरु इति सूत्रेण ऋत्वे कृते राम प्लस रु. सजुष शब्दात् सुप्रत्यय कृते सुप्रत्ययस्य लोपे कृते सजुष इति अवशिष्यते. पदान्त श सजुष शब्दस्य श इत्यस्य रु इति आदेशः भवति. And one last point, I have mentioned this, but let me repeat this. Sajush iti shabdam vihaya अन्येषां शकारान्त शब्दानां विषये इदं सूत्रं न प्रवर्तते. सो सकारस्य कृते सर्वत्र अस्ति, परन्तु शकारस्य कृते केवलं सजुष शब्दस्य कृते तत्र अन्ये शब्दाः ये सन्ति तेषां विषये झलां जशोन्ते इत्यनेन जष्ट्वे डकारादेशः एव भवति. सो द्विष हेटर द्वेष्टि सः द्विष प्लस सु तत्र सुप्रत्यये कृते सुप्रत्ययस्य लोपे कृते द्विष तत्र शकारस्य जष्ट्वेन ड़कारादेशे कृते द्विड इति सिद्ध्यति. सो द्वेष्टि सः द्विड इति तत्र वृत्तिः दीयते. So that's fundamentally about the sasajushoruhu. Any questions on the material that has been discussed so far? Things are actually pretty easy till now. Complexity will increase slowly. Hopefully everything that is explained till now should be clear. Now there is one particular situation where the padanta sakara does not become ru, rather it undergoes a lopa. So understand, fundamentally the padanta sakara should have become jash. So that was the biggest utsarga. That never happens. By default, that is being blocked and sakara becomes ru. But in a certain very specific case, there is a sutram that converts, basically that causes lopa of a certain type of padanta sakara. Sarvesham krute na bhavati. Sarvesham krute tu sa ityasya ru adeshah. Parantu vishishta padanta sakarasya lopaha bhavati. Idam sutram, lopa vidhayakam sutram, षष्ठाध्यायस्य प्रथमे पादे वर्तते. It is in 6.1. Sasajushoruhu is in 8.2, and therefore this particular lopa vidhayak sutra अस्य सूत्रस्य कृते ससजुषोरुः इति असिद्धम् अस्ति. अतः यत्र यत्र लोपस्य संभवः अस्ति, यत्र यत्र लोपः भवितुम् अर्हति, तत्र तत्र ऋत्वस्य असिद्धत्वे पदान्त सकारस्य लोपः एव करणीयः. So what is this special situation? The special situation is specifically for two sarvanama words, etad and tad. Etad तथा तद इति शब्दाभ्याम परस्य सुप्रत्ययस्य व्यंजने परे. So how is the configuration? It should be etad or tad followed by supratyaya followed by a vyanjana. If this particular configuration matches, then etat tatha tad etabhyam parasya supratyasya vyanjane pare ससजुषोरुः इत्यनेन ऋत्वे प्राप्ते तस्य असिद्धत्वात्. We are not saying अपवादत्वात्, we are saying असिद्धत्वात्. 6.1.132 एतत् तदोः सुलोपो अकोरनय समासे हलि इति सूत्रेण लोपः विधीयते. So etad plus su plus shivaha ityatra. You do the prakriya of etad plus su. We don't need to bother about it. The final form is eshas. Eshas plus shivaha ityatra sakarasya lope krute एष शिवः इति सिद्ध्यति. तद प्लस सु प्लस रामः इत्यत्र सस. तद plus su combine together to form sas. We don't need to worry about why and how. Tada plus su becomes sas plus ramah sakarasya lope krute saramah iti siddhyati. So this is a particular exception, not exception, asiddhatva on sasajushoruhu, because of which etad tatha tad इत्येताभ्यां विहितस्य सु इति प्रत्ययस्य व्यंजने परे लोपः भवति. And it is very important to remember, एषः शिव, एष शिवः, this particular example, स रामः इत्यादीनि उदाहरणानि व्याकरणशास्त्रस्य प्रारंभिकस्तरीयेषु पुस्तकेषु विसर्गलोपस्य उदाहरणरूपेण पाठितानि सन्ति. They will directly say एषः रामः विसर्गलोप एष रामः, सः शिवः विसर्गलोप स शिवः. So एष रामः स शिवः, these are considered examples of visarga sandhi. However, what is the reality? Vastutah atra visargah eva na vidyate. We have not even started discussion of visarga. The name of today's class is visargadesha, but we have not even started the discussion of visarga. So atra visargah eva na vidyate apitu sakarasya atra sakshat lopah krutah asti. अतः एतानि विसर्ग संधेः उदाहरणानि न सन्ति इति स्मर्तव्यम्. एतानि सकार लोपस्य उदाहरणानि सन्ति. And the sutram is a little bit long. So if you read the sutram, etat tadoho ityukte etad tada tad ityasya sulopaha su pratyasya lopaha bhavati hali hal varne pare. So that part is very easy to understand. Etat tadoho sulopaha hali. But there is something else in between akoho and anay samase. So akoho and anay samase. That's the two nishedhas that are being put in this sutram. Etat tadoho sulopaha akoho anay samase hali. So one nishedha akoho, second nishedha anay samase. If these two nishedhas don't kick in, then etad and tad will cause the su pratyaya to undergo an elision when there is a hal letter. So what are these specific nishedhas akoho and anay samase? So etat tadoho sulopo akoranay samase hal ityatra ukto dvau nishedhau akoho. Akoho refers to this infamous akach pratyaya, which all of you have studied while doing the homework on the Adaso Math Sutram. So Adas Shabdasya Sandarbhena Akach Pratyayah Asmabhi Adhitaha. So that amuke word is the akach pratyayanta configuration, and that should not be the pragriya samnyaka. That's why that Adaso Math ityasmin sutre makara grahanam mat iti avashyakam vartate. So that's irrelevant, but the other akach pratyaya is what is coming in the picture. Just like the way adas gets an akach, in the same way etad can also get an akach, tad can also get an akach. Every sarvanama shabda gets an akach pratyaya. So when the akach pratyaya is added, this particular lopa is not done. So akach pratyaya ghatitabhyam etat tad shabdabhyam vihitasya supratyasya lopaha na bhavati. So here is an example. You have etad or tad, you have akacha, then you have supratyaya. So akach is the pratyaya added on etad and tad. Then you have a supratyaya, and then obviously that same example, etad ramaha, etad plus su shivaha, and so on. Etad plus akach gives eshakas. You don't need to worry about the prakriya. The only thing you need to understand is etad plus akach gives eshakas. Similarly, tad plus akach gives sakas. Half sa is there. So etad is eshakas, tad is sakas, plus Ramaha. So if you have Ashas plus Ramaha, that sakara is the normal sakara, it will undergo removal. But if you have Ashakas plus Ramaha, it is the Akach Pratyaya sitting over there, that extra kakara is there. So that Akach Pratyaya is sitting over there, then Sulopaha na bhavati. Kim bhavati agre pashyamah, parantu Sulopaha na bhavati. So etad or tad atra akach pratyaya krute sulopaha atra na bhavati. So that's the first exception, first nishedha, akoho, given in the sutram. The second nishedha given in the sutram is anay samase. If you want to add nay samasa over there, like na etad or na tad, not just the na word, na plus etad, that sandhi is not what we are talking. There is a separate nay samasa, na plus etad or na plus tad. All of you hopefully know examples of nay samasa. So yadi na plus etad, no ched na plus tad, iti prakarena nay samasah krutah asti. So how does the whole prakriya happen? Na is the purvapada on the samasa. Etad plus tada is the uttarapada on the samasa. Then you first combine the purvapada and uttarapada to form the samasta pada. The samasta pada is anesha or asa. And then obviously the su pratyay is being added. So aneshas or asas. These are the samasta padas along with the su pratyay. Like you have ashas and sas, the negation of that is aneshas and asas. Aneshas tatha asas ityetayoho sandarbhena api sulopaha na bhavati. So to be frank, this akoho and anay samasehi is mostly theoretical in nature. You will not come across multiple examples of this even in the literature or in the Vyakarana going ahead. The most important bit of this sutram is etat tadoho sulopaha hali. So esha shivaha, sa ramaha. These are like very common in the literature. This is what people incorrectly teach and learn as the visarga lopa. But these are the ones for which this sutra should be learned. The akoho bit and anay samase is mostly theoretical. Just remember that there are some situations where this particular sulopa does not happen. So let's take a look at the sutram. Etattadoho sulopaha akoho anay samase hali. Kaharthaha akakarayoho etattadoho yaha suhu तस्य लोपः स्याद् हलि संहितायां न तु नये समासे. एतत्तदोः सुलोपः अकोः अनये समासे हलि. So that's the padacheda. Samhitayam iti adhikaraha. How is the adhikara sahitam sutram? Anay samase akoho. So you keep the two negations aside. Etattadoho hali samhitayam sulopaha. Etattadoho sulopaha ityukte एतत् तथा तद शब्दात् विहितः यः सुप्रत्ययः तस्य लोपः. Understand, etad does not have su inside it. Tad does not have to su inside it. This particular statement, etat tadoho sulopaha, is different than saying Rajan ityasya nalopaha. When you say Rajan ityasya nalopaha, nakara is inside Rajan. Whereas when you are saying etat tadoho sulopaha, you are saying the su attached to etat or su attached to tad is being removed. So Rajan ityatra yada vadamaha Rajan ityasya nalopaha tatra tada avayava sashthi asti. Rajan ityasya avayava rupena vidyamanaha yaha nakaraha tasya lopaha. This is not an avayava shashthi in case of etad and tada. We refer to it as sambandha lakshana shashthi. Etad tad shabdasya sambandhi yaha supratyayah tasya lopaha. So Rajan ityatra Rajan shabdasya avayava rupena vidyamanasya nakarasya lopaha. Whereas for etat tadoho, it is the sambandha rupena vidyamanasya su ityasya lopaha. So this is the sambandha lakshana shashthi. What is the sutrartham? नय समास भिन्नस्य अकच प्रत्यांत भिन्नस्य एतद शब्दस्य तद शब्दस्य हल वर्णे परे सुलोपः भवति. Very simple. So etad or tad plus su plus Shivaha. Etad becomes Eshas when that Su is absorbed. Tad becomes a Sas when that Su is absorbed. Eshas plus Sas Shivaha. Sa is removed. Esha or Sa Shivaha. Let's look at Dalakrutyam. Akoho itikim. We have seen examples. Eshakas Shivaha, Sakas Shivaha. Ane samase itikim. Aneshas Shivaha, Asas Shivaha. And obviously Hali itikim. Etad tad plus su plus aham. Ityatra ayam sulopaha na bhavati. You don't say sa aham. You don't say esha aham. You do a different kind of sandhi over there. Just like the way you say sa ramaha, you don't say sa aham because sulopaha tatra na bhavati. So this way, the main discussion was about the padanta ru. ससजुषोरुः इति सूत्रेण स इत्यस्य पदान्त स इत्यस्य रु आदेशः भवति, परन्तु विशिष्टेषु स्थलेषु अस्य रु इत्यस्य असिद्धत्वेन एतत्तदोसु लोप इति सूत्रेण सकारस्य लोपः विधीयते. This was just a side discussion. Now we are going back to the main track of this ru, which is now converted to repha. So we had padanta sakara. पदांत सकारस्य रु इति आदेशः तस्य रु इत्यस्य इत्संज्ञा लोपे कृते र इति अवशिष्यते. दिस इज योर पदांत रेफ. एनी क्वेश्चंस सो फार? विद्याजी.
नमस्कारः महोदय. तत्र प्रश्नत्रयं वर्तन्ते. एषस् इत्यस्य कथञ्चित् एषः इति भवति वा? तस्य पठनं भवति वा?
अत्र अस्मिन् उदाहरणे एषस् प्लस् सस् प्लस् शिव इत्यत्र
न महोदय, एषस् इति अस्य सूत्रस्य सामर्थ्यात्
इदानीं किमस्ति? इदानीम् एतद् प्लस् सु इत्यत्र एषस् इति सिद्ध्यति. अत्र विद्यमानः स इति पदान्तसकारः. अग्रे हल् वर्णः अस्ति चेत् अस्य स इत्यस्य लोपः भवति. अग्रे हल् वर्णः नास्ति चेत् इदानीम् एषस् प्लस् अहम् इत्येव स्थितिः. अग्रे किं भवति पश्यामः. फॉर नाउ इट्स ओन्ली पदान्तसकार. क्लियर्?
अस्तु महोदय. तत्र अपि एषः एतत् सूत्रम् अग्रे आगच्छति, पूर्वमेव आगच्छति इति कृत्वा तत्र जलाञ्जशोन्ते इति न भवति किल? अत्र अपि
तत् असिद्धमस्ति किल? जलां जशोन्ते तु असिद्धमेव. अत्र त्रिपादीसूत्रमस्ति इदम्.
अस्तु, धन्यवादः.
एनी फर्दर क्वेश्चंस? श्रीनिवास महोदय.
नमस्ते महोदय. तत्र नै समास भिन्नस्य कृते अनै इति अस्ति, अनै समासे. परन्तु अकच् इत्यस्य कृते अकोः इति अस्ति किल? तत् कथं?
So it's a small technical bit I skipped because it was not necessary. अकोः इत्युक्ते अककारस्य एतद् तदा तद् इत्यस्य तद् रूपं यस्मिन् ककारः न विद्यते. अनेन प्रकारेण तत्र अर्थः क्रियते. सो इन एषकस् अत्र ककारः अस्ति, इन सकस् अत्र ककारः अस्ति, अतः अत्र अकच् प्रत्ययस्, अतः अत्र एतेषां विषये सुलोपः न भवति.
अस्तु, अकच् प्रत्यय
टेक्निकली इट मैट्स ऑफ द सेम. अकच् प्रत्ययेनैव तत्र ककारः सिद्ध्यति. अकच् प्रत्ययः नास्ति चेत् ककारः अपि न सिद्ध्यति.
उत्तमं, धन्यवादः महोदय, सम्यक् अस्ति.
That's okay. So it's a good question. It's a small technical bit, but just purely technical, so I had skipped it. Any more questions? Agre gacchamaha. So we have discussed there is a padanta sakara. Padanta sakarasya ru iti bhavati. Ru ityasya itsamya lope krute ra iti jayate. That is now your padanta repha. Interestingly, that is not the only padanta repha that can exist. So Samskrita Vyakarane Vidyamanaha Padanta rephaha api dvividhaha. Please pay attention to this slide. Rutva prakaranasya sutrena rutve krute tataha itsamyalope krute jayamanaha rephaha. So this is the straightforward. When I say rutva prakaranasya sutrena, it is not just the sasajushoruhu. We have seen the two big rutvas, prarutva prakaranas. 8266 ससजुषोरुः इत्यत्र ऋत्वप्रकरणमस्ति। नो चेत् मतुवसोरुः सम्बुद्धौ छन्दसि 831 इत्यत्रापि ऋत्वप्रकरणमस्ति। अनयोः प्रकरणयोः केनापि सूत्रेण ऋत्वं क्रियते. So if there is a ru as a trigger, from wherever it comes, it might come from sa, it might come from sasajushoru, the sh, it might come from ahan or bhavan, the ra. That initial place doesn't matter. If there is a ru which is getting converted to ra, then we say that is first kind of padantarepa. So rutva prakaranasya sutvena rutve krute. There must be an intermediate step of the rutva. Rutve krute. Tatah itsamya lope krute jayamanaha rephaha. So rutva prakaranasya sutraihi yatha rama plus su ityatra sasajushoruhu ityanena rutve krute rama ru इत्यनेन इत्संज्ञा लोपे कृते रामर अयं पदान्तरेफः प्रथम प्रकारस्य रेफः पयस् प्लस सु सुलोपे कृते पयस् पयस् इत्यस्य इदानीं पदसंज्ञा अस्ति तत्र रु आदेशे कृते पयरु तत्र इत्संज्ञा लोपे पयर भवान्तरति इत्यत्र नश्चव्य प्रशान इत्यनेन ऋत्वे कृते. So bhavaru tarati. I have also added an anunasika over there. So sorry, bhavaru tarati. Tadantaram itsamya lope krute. I have also added an anunasika after that. So atra anunasika purvasya tuva or anuswarat parasavarna. So anuswarat paraha anunasikat paro anuswara. Sorry. So either atra anunasika purvasya tuva or anunasikat paro anuswara. Either sutram will give you bhamar tarati or bhavam tarati. Whatever is the prakriya, asya ante vidyamanaha rephaha ayamapi rutvat siddhaha padanta rephaha. So this is one type of padanta repha. But there is also other type of padanta repha, rutvam vina siddhaha padanta rephaha. So there are prakriyas where you get a repha at the end of the pada which is coming from a different mechanism. We don't really need to worry about that mechanism because the mechanism doesn't matter. All that matters is that there is no ru involved anywhere in the process. So rutvam vina siddhaha padanta rephaha. Some examples, and I'm going to give completely diverse examples over here. So pratar iti rephantam avyayam asti. तत्र अव्ययस्य पाठे रेफान्तम अव्ययं पाठ्यते. सो अस्मात् सुप्रत्यये कृते प्रातर सुप्रत्ययस्य लोपे कृते प्रातर इति पदसंज्ञा भवति. सॉरी, प्रातर इत्यस्य पदसंज्ञा भवति. अत्र अन्ते विद्यमानः रेफः पदान्तरेफः, but there is no ru anywhere because pratar plus su, that su is being removed. Only pratar is remaining, so that is a single repha without ru. एवमेव अंतर इति अव्ययम, पुनर इति अव्ययम, बहिर इति अव्ययम इत्यादिकं सर्वम् अस्ति. द्वितीयम् उदाहरणं गिर्र. गिर मीन्स वाणी, स्पीच. So girra iti rephantam pratipadikam asti. We will learn that hopefully when we go to the subanta prakaranam. So girra iti rephantam pratipadikam asti. अस्मात् प्रातिपदिकात् भ्याम इति प्रत्यये कृते कथंचित गिर इत्यस्य पदसंज्ञा जायते. Just like the way payas plus bhyam gives payas a padasamnya, gir plus bhyam gives gir a padasamnya. So gir plus bhyam ityatra padantarepha asti, that is not generated from ru. Similarly, gir plus bhis, gir plus bhyas, gir plus sup. In all these examples, there is a padantarepha which is not generated by su. Yet another example. See how diverse these examples are. पितृ इति शब्दः अस्ति, तस्य पंचमी एकवचनं ngasi. पंचमी एकवचनस्य प्रक्रियायाम् at some place in the prakriya a configuration is pitursa. So there is a consecutive sanyoga of r and s towards the end. पितुर्स. पितुर्स इति स्थिते केनचित् सूत्रेण सकारस्य लोपे कृते पितुर् इति अवशिष्यति. So pitur plus sa, that's the final configuration. Sa is now removed. Kevalam pitur iti avashishyate. Tasya pitur ityasya rephaha padantarephaha. Same way, pitru shabdasya sambodhanaik vachane. पितर इति विद्यमानः रेफः पदान्तरेफः. So padantarefa can be from avyayas, it can be from certain pratipadikas, or it can be from some combination. So pitru doesn't have a refa, unlike a gira or pratar. Pitru doesn't have a refa directly over there. But because of certain prakriya, that padantarefa might be generated. So three diverse examples I have given. What is a common theme across all these three examples? In all these three examples, there is a padanta repa which is not generated from ru. Anena prakarena padanta rephasya prakaradvayam ru ityasmad jaya siddhaha padanta repa no chet rutvam vina siddhaha padanta repa. And now the crux of today's and tomorrow's class starts, because the entire Visarga Sandhi Prakaranam and the entire Swadi Sandhi Prakaranam is all about Padantare Phasya Adeshaha. So you start with something, it can be Sasajush, like Sa, Sha, Na, whatever, and eventually you go to Ru, and then you do an Itsamya Lopa and you go to Ra. Or you have an altogether different path which does not involve a ru and directly goes to ra. Whatever is this padanta ra, this is your starting point of the Visarga Sandhi Prakaranam and Swadi Sandhi Prakaranam. Somebody is giving yet another example. Nira iti upasargaha asti. Durra iti upasargaha asti. So yes, their repa is also a non-ru repa. So like that, many examples you can find. But the point is, there is this non-ru repa from one path, and there is a ru generated repa. So ru ityasma siddha repa, that's other part. Both of these parts converge. You have a ra, and that is where the padam, that is where the whole Visarga Sandhi and Swadi Sandhi Prakaranam of Siddhanta Kaumudi starts. So what does Siddhanta Kaumadikara, or what is basically in all these prakaranas sitting together? What happens to this Padanta Repa? So Padanta Refasya Adeshaha Chatush Prakarakaha. There are 4 different fates associated with the Padanta Repa. There is actually a 5th one, but I'll talk about it in a minute. But 4 important fates associated with Padanta Repa. First, Padantarefasya visargaha bhavati. If you have munir plus tatra, the repa becomes visarga. Somebody was asking, is that eshas becoming eshaha? So that's possibility. It's one fate of that padantarefa. One possibility, padantarefasya visargaha bhavati. Second possibility, padantarefasya lopaha bhavati. So if you have uchchair ratanam, Uchchair is the avyaya, like that pratar and punar is there in the avyaya kosha. So Uchchair ratanam, tasya rephasya lopaha bhavati. So Uchchai ratanam. Third, padantarephasya yakaradeshaha bhavati. So if you have balar gachanti, so bala prathama bahuvachanam, there is a jas pratyaya, su au jas, bala plus asa, ja is itsamyaka, so bala plus asa, that is that padanta sakara getting converted to ru. Now ra is remaining, that balar is what is written over here. So balar plus gachanti, ra becomes ya, balaya gachanti. And finally, padantarefasya ukaradeshaha ramar gacchati. Ityatra padantarefa asti, tasya ram u gacchati iti ukaradeshaha siddhyati. So 4 important possibilities, fates of the padanta repa, padantarefasya visargadesha. You have to thoroughly memorize this, at least the 4 names for now, but by the end of tomorrow's class, you have to thoroughly memorize kutra visargadesha, kutra lopaha, kutra yakaradesha, kutra ukaradesha. So that's the theme of today's and tomorrow's class. In today's class, we are only going to cover 1/4 portion. So today's discussion is all about padantarefasya visargadesha. That's why the name of the class Visargadeshaha. And tomorrow's discussion is all about the remaining 3/4. Yakaradesha, Ukaradesha, and Padantarefasya Lopaha. So today, only 1/4 of this particular diagram will be covered. There are 4 possibilities: Visargadesha, Lopa, Yakaradesha, Ukaradesha, and as I mentioned, there is yet another possibility, Padantarefasya Kopi Adesha na bhavati. So these are 4 Adeshas, and then 5th one is Kimapi na bhavati. That's not worth writing in the diagram because it's not an Adesha technically. So I have not written, but we are going to see the examples of that as well. So that's basically a fallback. If neither of those 4 conditions are satisfied, because each Adesha comes up with a condition. So if neither of those 4 conditions are satisfied, Padantarefasya Kimapi na bhavati. Now so far so good. The question is, if it was such a simple slide, why did we start with Padanta Sakara? Why did we talk about Sasajushoruhu? Why did we even think of that complex Ru pathway? Why not just open up today's class with this slide saying Padantarefasya Chatushprakarakaha Adeshaha? The answer is that out of these 4 Adeshas, the 2 Adeshas that are on the right side, Padantarefasya Yakaradeshaha तथा च पदान्तरेफस्य उकारादेशः इति द्वौ आदेशौ केवलं रु इत्यस्मात् निर्मितस्य रेफस्य विषये एव प्रवर्तेते. So these 2 adeshas cannot happen for cases like pratar or antar or pitar or gir or nir and so on. These are specifically restricted to padantaru ityasmat nirmitaha rephaha. The remaining 2 conditions, visarga desha and padanta refasya lopaha, these are sarva prakarasya padanta refasya vishaye. So it can be the ru type of repha, it can be the gira, nira, pitara, that kind of repha. The visarga desha and the lopa is for all types of repha, whereas yakaradesha and ukaradesha is only for ru ityasmat nirmitaha rephaha. So now what I'm going to do on the next 2 or 3 slides is quickly show you the examples of these without going in the sutras. As I mentioned, the sutras is what for the Visargadesha we are going to learn today. For the remaining 3 we are going to learn tomorrow. But let me just quickly show you the examples and the conditions. It's going to be a little bit hard. It's okay if you do not understand it at the moment, but just I'm going to give you a break in like 5 minutes. So let's have some little complicated stuff and then we'll take a small break. So see this. There is a situation where, first of all, going back to the previous slide, we are going, what I'm doing, let's talk about the condition of ru. So ru ityasmat nirmitaha rephaha. So ru ityasmat yaha rephaha siddhyati. तस्य किं किं संभवति? तस्य विषये यकारादेशः, तस्य विषये उकारादेशः. So that's the 2 things that we are going to see on this screen. So ru ityasmat nirmitah padantarefah, tasya agre kah adeshah bhavati. So here is an example. Devaru plus atra. In case of devaha, this is the prathama bahuvachanam. Devaru plus atra. The ru gets converted to ra. Devara plus atra. Padantare phasya yakaradeshah bhavati. Devaya plus atra. Another example. Devaru plus gachanti. Padantaru ityasya ra. Tasya agre yakaradeshah. Devaya gachanti. How is the yakaradesha happening in these examples? The rule says akaradanantaram yaha ru iti tasya ashwarane pare yakaradesha bhavati. So if there is a ru that comes after akara, only akara, and if there is ash letter, ash is what? Swaras and karkasha vyanjanas. No, swaras and mrudu vyanjanas. So ach is the swaras and hash is the mrudu vyanjanas. So swaras and mrudu vyanjanas. An example of swara is devaru atra. An example of mrudu vyanjana is devaru gachanti. So in these two examples, there is akara plus there is ru plus there is ash letter. Atra ru ityasya yakaradeshaha bhavati. That's one case. Let's go to the next one. If there is a ru which is sandwiched between two akaras, then ru ityasya ukaradeshaha bhavati. Probably many of you know these rules from a different angle like sandhis, but let's understand the reality is that there is a ru which is getting converted to u. So for example, Ramaru plus atra. The ru is sandwiched between two akaras. Tatra r ityasya ukaradeshaha bhavati. We are going to revisit these slides tomorrow. Is just I'm showing you the diversity. It's okay if you do not fully understand or remember what is being taught on this slide. Till the previous slide, everything should be thoroughly clear. This is basically the glimpse of what we are going to learn tomorrow. So akara plus ru plus akara ityatra ukaradeshaha bhavati. If there is akara plus ru plus akara bhinnaha swaraha like a, e, u and all that, ru ityasya yakaradeshaha bhavati. So again, there is a possibility of ukaradesha in some cases. There is a possibility of yakaradesha in some other cases. So ru ityasya yakaradeshaha bhavati. So Ramaru plus Ishwaraha, Ramar plus Ishwaraha. There r ityasya yakaradeshe krute Ramae plus Ishwaraha iti siddhyati. Ante akara plus ru plus hash letter, ru ityasya ukaradesha bhavati. So eventually we are talking about the asha letters in general. Asha is broken down into a or other swaras or hash. For a there is ukaradesha, for these other swaras there is yakaradesha, and for hash there is ukaradesha once again. So akara plus ru plus hash, ru ityasya ukaradesha bhavati. राम रु गच्छति, राम र गच्छति, राम र becomes u, राम u गच्छति. Now somebody is asking a question over here. Devar plus atra ityatra varnam melanam krutva devayatra iti bhavitum arhati va. So you have devar plus atra. The r gets converted to ya. Devaya atra. At this stage, we are just going to stop here. What happens to that ya is what we will learn tomorrow. So as I mentioned, anything. So this is regarding yakaradesha. Anything regarding yakaradesha, anything regarding ukaradesha, and anything regarding lopa is the discussion for tomorrow's class. What we are going to talk today is the visarga. So let me just introduce where this visarga happens and then we will take a break. So the only place where the visarga is generated, which is the material of today's class, only the place where visarga is generated is if you have a padantarepa. It can be either way. Remember, if you go to that diagram, visarga was in the left column, which means all types of padantarefas. So if you have padantarefa and if you either have a karkasha vyanjanam or if you have an avasana, then there is visargadesha. So padantarefasya visargadeshaha bhavati. And many examples I am giving over here because these are the ones that we are going to discuss going down the line. So Ramaru tisthati, Ramar tisthati ityatra padantarefasya visargadeshaha kimarthamiti chet agre khar varnaha asti. Punarshete. See the difference. In case of Ramar tisthati, it came from ru. In case of punarshete, it is the avyaya, so it is the non-rule related repha. So punarshete ityatra र इत्यस्य अग्रे शकारः अस्ति. शकार is a khar letter. So visargadesha bhavati punashete. Piturchitram ityatra. Pitur was the panchami ekvachanam. We just saw the half of the prakriya over there. So piturchitram or even shashti is fine. So piturchitram ityatra padantarefasya shakare pare khar varne pare visargadesha bhavati. Bhavaru tarati. We have seen this example. Padantarefasya khar varne pare takare pare visargadeshaha bhavati. And obviously, not just khar, but you can also have avasana. So Ramaru ityatra Ramar ityatra Ramaha. That's why in the tables that you recite, it is Ramaha, Ramau, Ramaha. Because Ramaha is a standalone entry over there. There is nothing after that. It is avasana. So that ra has become visarga and therefore you say Ramaha. Similarly, Ramau, Ramaha. There is Ramas. Sa is becoming Ru. Ru is becoming Ra. Ra is becoming Visarga because there is Avasana after that. Ramaha. In the same way, Punar. Avyayam asti. Rephasya agre kimapi nasti chet Punaha. Shwas. Tomorrow. Shwas. सकारस्य ऋत्वे कृते श्वरु श्वः रु इत्यस्य विसर्गादेशे किम अवसानमस्ति अतः अत्र पदान्तरेफस्य विसर्गादेशे श्वः अनेन प्रकारेण पदान्तरेफादनन्तरं खर् वर्णः अस्ति चेत् तत्र विसर्गः रेफस्य विसर्गादेशः भवति अवसानमस्ति चेदपि रेफस्य विसर्गादेशः भवति and then the last entity that was remaining was lopa. I have given some examples. We can look at it tomorrow in tomorrow's class. Except for 4 of these examples, avashishteshu sthaleshu refaha tadrishaha eva tishtati. As I mentioned, that was the 5th one. So there was one more slide over there, but I'll skip it. We have almost covered fully covered 1 hour. So at this stage, I'm going to stop. We'll take a small break of 5 to 7 minutes. So let's meet at exactly 9 minutes later. We meet at 9:10 p.m. That's, I think, what, 9:40 a.m. and we can continue. I will be here. If you have doubts, feel free to raise your hand and ask. Precisely at 9:10, I will start the class again. Ratnakar Mahoday.
Namaskar, Acharya. Acharya, in Yakaradesha conditions, there are 3 conditions. More or less, they are happening Akara, Akara, and Swara Bhinna, Akara Bhinna letters. Akara Bhinna Swaraha is nothing but all Achwa.
Let me go to the slide.
Yeah. First one is Akara, second one is Rasva Akara, and the other one is Akara Bhinna Swara. So more or less these are all Achvarnas or Swaras only.
Correct, correct.
And in all these places, in fact, Yakara Adesha is happening.
Correct. So in all these places, Yakara Adesha happens. What happens to that Yakara, we will see tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
And only in place of Ukara, there is some other condition, no? I think.
There is a hush letter. So Vyanjana is there. In case of even in the first one, ash includes swaras and hush. So devaru gachanti. Ityatrapi yakarasya ga iti asti kila.
Okay. Fine. That's what I just thought of asking. And secondly, now like Punasharana is giving rise to Punasharana. Shakaradesha is there.
Wait. And all of that we are going to discuss today and tomorrow. So keep all other doubts separate. Yeah.
This I'm asking in connection with the Pituhu Chitram. There, does that give rise to Pitush Chitram?
Wait, that's what I'm saying. Do not jump. I know you are all jumping because there's a completely different understanding in the brain. For now, Pitur Chitram becomes Pituhu Chitram and we will stop here. What happens after that is the discussion on the Visargadesha, which we will start in a few minutes. But for now, let's stop at Pituhu Chitram. Okay?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
No worries. Reshma ji.
नमस्ते महोदय मम प्रश्नः अस्ति यथा पुनर् तस्य पुनः भवति यदा अग्रे खर वा अवसानम् अस्ति तदा किन्तु सामान्यतः पुनर्मिलामः इति वयं वदामः तर्हि तत्र म इति अवसान वा खर नास्ति अतः तत्र र एव तिष्ठति वा
Correct. So that's what we said, right? It is the last point on the slide, right? Avashishteshu sthaleshu repha tadrisha eva tishtati. So I think I might have given some examples. So punar plus atra. Ref remains as it is. Punar atra. In the same way, punar milamaha. Ref remains as it is. Right? If there are no raised hands, I'll switch off the video and I'll come back in like 5 minutes. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. Okay. So let's start again. यथा मया इदानीम् उक्तं पदान्तरेफस्य चतुर्विधः आदेशः सम्भवति। तत्र यकारादेशः सम्भवति, उकारादेशः सम्भवति, लोपः सम्भवति, तथा च विसर्गादेशः अपि सम्भवति। एतेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः आदेशेभ्यः त्रयः आदेशः इत्युक्ते यकारादेशः, उकारादेशः तथा च लोपः, एते त्रय आदेशः अस्माभिः श्वस्तने वर्गे द्रक्ष्यन्ते। अत्र इदानीम् अस्मिन् वर्गे केवलम् अवशिष्टः एकः एव आदेशः, इत्युक्ते पदान्तरेफस्य विसर्गादेशः। कथं भवति? तस्य विसर्गस्य च अग्रे किं किं भवति? तस्य इदानीं चिन्तनम् अस्माभिः करणीयम्। So the sutram is kharvasanayor visarjaniyah. Khar and avasana, it gives it everything. Khari samhitayam avasane cha rephasya visargaha syat padante. So this is 8.3.15. So Sasajushoruhu is 8.2.66. Rutva happens in 8.2. Then you have to come to 8.3 and then there is Visargadesha. So Khar avasanayoho Visarjaniyah. Raha ityasya anuvrutti asti. It is the repha, any repha. It can be ru or it can be other repha. Any repha that undergoes a Visargadesha. Padasya iti adhikaraha. So raha padasya tadantavidhi. Rephantasya padasya खर अवसानयोः इत्युक्ते खर वर्णे परे नो चेत् अवसाने परे संहितायां विसर्गादेशः विसर्जनीयः इति आदेशः भवति. So you have रहा पदस्य तदन्तविधि र इति सामान्यरूपेण उक्तमस्ति. अतः इदं सूत्रं रु इत्यस्मात् निर्मितस्य रेफस्य कृते अपि प्रयुज्यते, तद् भिन्नस्य रेफस्य कृते अपि प्रयुज्यते. खर अवसानयोः इति सप्तमी विभक्तौ परनिमित्तं खर वर्णे परे अवसाने वा परे विसर्जनीयः इत्युक्ते विसर्गः आदेशरूपेण विधीयते. अन्तिमवर्णस्य स्थाने अयम् आदेशः भवति. सो पदान्ते विद्यमानस्य रेफस्य खर् वर्णे परे अवसाने वा परे विसर्गादेशः भवति. सो रामर्तरति इत्यत्र रु इत्यस्मात् जायमाना रेफा तस्य विसर्गादेशे कृते रामः तरति. प्रातर्तरति नॉर्मल रेफ नॉट फ्रॉम द रू. प्रातः तरति. भगोर केशवः. Bhago is an avyaya which indicates like he or bhoho. So bhagor keshava. Bhagoho keshava. Again, padanta rephasya rut khar varane pare. So k, p, t, these are khar letters. Khar varane pare avasane va pare visargaha bhavati. Now here is a teacher-student conversation. Chhatraha pruchhati. आचार्य रेफात् अनन्तरम् अवसानम् अथवा कर्कश व्यञ्जनम् अस्ति चेदेव विसर्गादेशः भवति. सो द सूत्रम् इस् खरवसानयोः विसर्जनीयः. तर्हि रामः गच्छति, रामः हसति, रामः अस्ति इत्येतेषु विसर्गः कथम्? So how is this possible to have a visarga in these cases? Because रेफात अनंतरम अवसानम अथवा कर्कश व्यंजनम what you have is g which is a मृदु व्यंजन. h and a अत्र विसर्गः कथम? Anybody would like to give an answer to this question? Any guesswork? विद्या जी.
संहिता न इष्यते.
Correct. So that संहिता न इष्यति इत्युक्ते अवसानम् इष्यते. संहिता and अवसानम् are विरुद्धार्थकौ. So संहिता न इष्यति इत्युक्ते अवसानम् अस्ति. Because अवसानम् means वर्णानाम् अभावः, विरामः. So अत्र आचार्यस्य किम् उत्तरम्? एतेषु सर्वेषु अपि प्रयोगेषु रेफात् अनन्तरम् अवसानं स्वीकर्तव्यम्. Because if there is a khara letter, then you get a visarga, but there is no khara letter, still I am getting a visarga. What does it mean? It means eteshu sarveshu prayogeshu refhadanantaram avasanam svikartavyam. And then the student basically clarifies exactly what the answer was given. Tarhi Ramaha gacchati ityadishu prayogeshu Ramaha ityasmadanantaram samhita naiva sambhavati. If a samhita is expected, then you cannot write the form as Ramaha gacchati, because when there is a samhita, then there will be g in front. If there is a mrudu vyanjana like this, a visarga will never be formed. So Ramaha gacchati ityadishu prayogeshu Ramaha ityasmadhanantaram संहिता नैव संभवति वा इति छात्रेण प्रश्नः कृतः। आचार्यस्य किमुत्तरम्? आम्, नैव संभवति। रामः गच्छति इत्यादिषु प्रयोगेषु द्वयोः शब्दयोः मध्ये संहिता स्वीक्रियते चेत् मूलरूपेण विसर्गः एव न सिद्ध्येत्। यतोहि रामरु, सो सी द फुल प्रक्रिया, रामसु गच्छति, ससजुषोरुः रामर गच्छति, तत्र रामर नो चेत् रामरु इत्यस्मादनन्तरं मृदुव्यञ्जनं स्वरः वावर्तेत. सो इन रामः अस्ति देयर इज अ स्वर, इन रामः गच्छति देयर इज अ मृदुव्यञ्जनम्. And then the $1,000,000 question comes up. यदि तत्र संहिता नास्ति तर्हि रामः गच्छति इत्यत्र विसर्गस्य ओकारादेशे कृते रामो गच्छति इति कथं संभवति? How is even an adesha possible if there is no g visible in front because there is avasana? So Ramah gacchati ityatra visargasya okaradeshe krute Ramo gacchati iti katham sambhavati? And the answer is that etadrisheshu prayogeshu विसर्गस्य ओकारादेशः संभवति इति नियमः एव पाणिनीय व्याकरण विरुद्धः. वस्तुतः प्राथमिकस्तरीयेषु वर्गेषु एतादृशाः बहवः अनुचित नियमाः सौलभ्यार्थं पाठिताः दृश्यन्ते. विसर्गस्य ओकारादेशः, लाइक रामः गच्छति बिकमिंग रामो गच्छति. विसर्गस्य रेफः, लाइक मुनिः गच्छति बिकमिंग मुनिर्गच्छति. Or somebody was saying punarmilamaha, punaha plus milamaha becoming punarmilamaha. Visargasya lopaha, ramaha asit becoming rama asit. All your basic sandhi books are filled with these examples. Ete niyamaha panini vyakaranane na santi, etani visarga sandhehe udaharanani api na. This is not a visarga sandhi because there is no visarga even present in any of these cases. It is not possible to start with Ramaha Gacchati and somehow convert that visarga to okara. In Ramaha Gacchati, the visarga even cannot exist if a samhita is assumed. The dialogue is not over. So the student pesters on. Tarhi ete prayogaha katham siddhyanti. So he is saying, now don't tell me that Ramo Gacchati is wrong and Munir Gacchati is wrong and Rama Asita is wrong. So ete prayogaha katham siddhyanti. So Acharya says that these prayogas are generated from the refa stage without going to the visarga. So kramena pashyamaha. Ramo Gacchati iti prayoga katham siddhyati. Rama ru Gacchati iti asti. अस्याम अवस्थायाम अकारः प्लस रू प्लस मृदु व्यंजनम इत्यस्याम स्थितौ रू इत्यस्य उकारादेश. सो दैट्स वन ऑफ आवर फोर क्वाड्रेंट्स. सो रू इत्यस्य उकारादेशे कृते राम ऊ गच्छति इति स्थिते गुण एकादेशे रामो गच्छति इति सिद्ध्यति. सो रामो गच्छति इज द एग्जांपल ऑफ उकारादेश फॉलोड बाय गुण. राम आसीत् इत्यत्र राम रु आसीत् इत्यस्याम अवस्थायाम अकारः प्लस रु प्लस अकार भिन्नः स्वरः. सो वी हैव सीन दैट ऑन द प्रीवियस स्लाइड. इत्यस्याम स्थितौ रु इत्यस्य यकारादेशे कृते कथंचित अग्रे यकारस्य लोपे कृते, वी आर गोइंग टू सी दैट टुमारो, राम आसीत् इति सिद्ध्यति. So it is not Ramaha plus Asit giving Rama Asit, it is Ramaya Asit giving Rama Asit. Finally, Munir Gacchati, Muni Ru Gacchati, Ityasnyam Avasthayam, Idvarnasya Lope Krute R iti avashishyate. Varnamelanam, there is no transformation on refa at all. Varnamelanena Munir Gacchati iti siddhyati. So in none of these examples there is a visarga sandhi. So the student confirms it for the one last time. Tarhi Ramaha gacchati ityadishu visargasya adeshaha sambhavanti iti yaduchyate iti yad maya pathitam tad anuchitameva kila. And the Acharya reaffirms that satyam ye chhatraha paniniya vyakaranam naiva adhiyate apitu kevalam केवलम विसर्गस्य सन्दर्भेण व्याकरणनियमान् ज्ञातुम् इच्छन्ति तेषां कृते अध्ययनसौलभ्यार्थं. So it is not a mistake or anything that grammarians don't know or people who are writing the book don't know, that's why they are writing like that. It's not like that. It is a purposeful decision. If you are not studying Paninian grammar, you don't need to go in the complexity of Padanta Repha and Padanta Ru and Ya Adesha and U Adesha and Lopa and so on. Just take Visarga as the starting point and hypothetical rules are created. So Adhyayana Saulabhyartham विसर्गस्य ओकारादेशः रेफः लोपः इत्यादयः नियमाः. नियम इत्युक्ते फेक रूल्स और हाइपोथेटिकल रूल्स वैयाकरणैः एव निर्मिताः सन्ति. परन्तु पाणिनीय व्याकरणस्य छात्राः एतादृशेषु प्रयोगेषु ऋत्वस्य उकारादेशः यकारादेशः लोपः वा भवति इत्येव जानीयुः. अत्र विसर्ग संधेः संशयः अपि तेषां मनसि मा भूत्. So on these two slides we have actually seen what is not visarga sandhi. Ramo gacchati is not visarga sandhi, it is ukaradeshe krute agre karyam bhavati. Rama asit is not visarga sandhi, it is yakaradeshe krute agre karyam bhavati. And munir gacchati is not visarga sandhi, atra ru ityasya kimapi karyam na bhavati, kevalam varnan melanam bhavati. Having said that, neti neti neti, if this is not visarga sandhi, this is not visarga sandhi, that is not visarga sandhi, so what is visarga sandhi? So the answer is padantare phasya kharvarne pare visargadeshe krute tasya visargasya yani parivartanani sambhavanti. So when you have a visarga, there will a guaranteed be khar letter after that. Now for some specific khar letters, that visarga is further converted into a few things. That is visarga sandhi. So visarga sandhi ityukte, you must have a khar letter to start with. For that khar letter, the visarga will then further get converted to something else. So now the examples are very familiar to you. I am just listing down the rules. There is nothing new. Everything that you have studied other than Ramo Gacchati and Rama Asit, Munir Gacchati and so on is technically now valid Visarga Sandhi, because we will see how the Visarga is coming in the picture and then further getting converted to other Adeshas. So Visargasya Agre Adeshaha Prathamah Niyamaha. All these rules are very well known to you, hopefully. Visargaha ityasmadarantaram sakaraha shakaraha shakaraha asti. Shar pratyahara. Sakara, let me write it down. Sakara shakara shakaraha asti. Chet Visargasya vikalpena sakara deshaha bhavati. So see the funny thing. You start with the padanta sakara like Ramas. The su pratyay. Sasajushoruhu will convert it to repha, will ignore its samnyas and so on. Kharavasani or visarjaniya will convert it to a visarga. And now it goes back to sakara by this particular sutram vashari. So visargadanantaram sakaraha shakaraha shakaraha asti chet visargasya vikalpena sakaradeshaha bhavati pakshe visargaha eva tishtati. So you have Ramaha plus Saha. See, Saha is afterwards. If Saha was before, then that Etattado Sulopo Sutra will kick in. That's not what we are talking. Ramaha plus Saha. Ramas Saha. Now I can actually start the Prakriya with Visarga. In case of Ramaha Gacchati, I cannot say Ramaha Gacchati, arrow Ramo Gacchati. That's a different pathway. But here I can start the Prakriya with Visarga, because it is the actual Sa getting converted to Ra, getting converted to Visarga, and now it is further getting converted to Sa. So Ramaha plus Saha ityatra visargasya sakaradeshe krute Ramas Saha pakshe Ramaha Saha. So pakshe visargaha tadrishaha eva tishtati. Similarly, one more example, Ramaha shete visargasya sakaradeshe Ramas shete. And now Shchutva will happen. So you have, somebody was asking, how is the Sh coming up? It is the Shchutva that happens after this Sakaradesha. The Sakaradesha is by the Sutram 8336. The Shchutvam is by the Sutram 8440. So Tripadi order is retained. Ramas Shete. इत्यत्र श्चुत्वे कृते रामश्येते सकारस्य शकारः. And otherwise you can retain Ramah Shete as it is because Visargasya Vikalpena Sakaradesha Krita asti. In this particular example, Ramah Shete, there is a samhita between Ramah and Shete. Samhitayaha upasthito eva Visargaha Mula Rupena Siddhyati. So if there was no samhita, then anyway, I mean, assuming Avsana will also give Visarga, but if there is no samhita, then Ramaha Tasmadanantram Avasanam Tadantram Shete. परंतु तत्र संहिता अस्ति चेद विसर्गस्य खर वर्णे परे सॉरी रेफस्य खर वर्णे परे विसर्गादेशः and then that visarga is optionally converted to sakara. Similarly, Ramah Shashtha Sakaradeshi कृते रामस् षष्ठः सकारस्य अग्रे ष्टुत्वे कृते रामश् षष्ठः पक्षे रामः षष्ठः. Vidya Bhagini, I'm not clear what your question is. If you want, you can raise your hand. So like this, Ramaha Saha, Ramaha Shete, Ramaha Shishtaha, Ityadishu Sthaleshu, Visargasya Vikalpena Sakaradesha Bhavati, Agre Shchutvam Shtutvam iti Bhavitum Arhati. Prichadam.
There, my question is Rama plus Sup. When the Su happens, that's when Ramar iti bhavati kila?
Correct.
Then Ramar is the pada samnya.
Correct. That's
And
when it is
then
Padantarepa.
Astu. And then when Avasanam or Khar comes after it, it becomes Ramaha.
Correct. Correct.
But we've been understanding it so far as Ramaha is the pada.
So Ramaha is the pada because Rama cannot, see, Ramar cannot stay as it is like this. Pada is defined, pada samnya comes in the picture as soon as su pratyay is added. So Rama plus su iti api padam asti. Rama ukarasya lope krute Rama plus sa iti api padam asti. Rutve krute Rama plus ru iti api padam asti. Ukara lope krute Rama plus ra iti api padam asti. Refasya visargadeshe krute Ramaha iti api padam asti. Sarvam padam eva because subantatvam is padatvam. So as soon as there is a sup pratyaya, padatvam comes in the picture.
Astu. Dhanyawad.
Now what happens is you have the visarga followed by there is a shara letter. So we are only talking about the shara letter, the sa, sh and sh. So there is a shara letter. Now if there is a karkasha vyanjanam after this shara letter, shar ityasmad anantaram karka. So sanyoga is there. Shar ityasmad anantaram karkasha vyanjanam asti chet. One more possibility is there. Visargasya lopaha api sambhavati. So there is a vartikam given by the vartikakara. Sakara shakara shakarad anantaram. So the previous condition is retained. You have visarga, you have sakara shakara shakara, and after that normally there will be a swara, like saha, there is a swara, shete, there is a swara, shashthaha, there is akara, so swara is there. But if there is a sanyoga of or with a karkasha letter, with a khar letter, then visargasya vikalpena lopaha api sambhavati. The vartika is khar pare shari va visarga lopo vaktavyaha. So khar pare shari, khar par ityukte shar asti, tasmat parah khar asti. So khar pare shari. This is a sanyoga. What are the examples? So Ramaha plus sthata. Lut lakarasya rupam asti. Sa plus tha. So sa is the shar letter and tha is the khar letter. So you have a sanyoga. Sa plus tha. The previous two possibilities are there. So you can definitely do sa ramasthata, or you can definitely retain the visarga as it is. In addition, visargasya lopaha api bhavati Ramah, sorry, Ramasthata. In the same way, Ramah Shyotati. Sh plus ch. Very rare examples. Sh plus ch. So sh is khar letter. Sh is shar letter. Sh is khar letter. So shar plus khar. Ramashchyotati or Ramaha Chyotati or Rama Chyotati. And finally, Kaha Shtivati. Same thing. Kash Shtivati. Kaha Shtivati. Ka Shtivati. Again, sh plus th. So very remote examples, but there is yet another possibility added. You can do Sakaradesha And obviously after sakaradesha, shtutva or shtutva, if it is required, you have to do it. It's not optional. So you have to do shtutva or shtutva, or you can retain the visarga. These two possibilities are coming from the main rule. In addition, the Vartikakara gives a third possibility, visarga lopaha api sambhavati. So this is visarga lopa. The actual visarga is being removed. Not repha lopa, not sakara lopa. Actual visarga is being removed. So Rama sthata. Atra visargasya lopaha kritah asti. So that the somebody is asking madhye sthitam rupam Ramah sthata. Atra samhitayam api Ramah sthata ityeva. I mean, I have written a space. If the objection is on the space, it's purely because of understanding. But otherwise, Ramaha sthata iti samhitayam eva. Just like the way here, Ramaha shete is in the samhita. Because vikalpena sakaradesha, pakshe visargaha eva tishtati. So all these forms are in samhita only. If there is no samhita, then the visarga adesha has happened because of the avasana. It has not happened because of the khar letter at all. So none of this discussion really matters. So that's the one rule. The next rule is shar pare visarjaniyaha if the condition is reversed. So for example, earlier what was it? It was shar plus khar. The sanyoga had the shar letter in the beginning and khar letter after that. If that condition gets reversed, so if you have a khar letter in the beginning and if you have a shar letter at the end, very few examples. A common example is kshatriya. In the kshatriya word, you have ka, which is the khar letter in the beginning, and then you have sh, which is the shar letter after it. So if the combination is reversed, if you have a khar letter first and then shar letter, then visargasya visargadeshaha eva bhavati, kimapi parivartanam na bhavati. So visarga, very unique case. We are not saying sandhi na bhavati. I'll tell you why after a few slides. We are saying visarga is converted to visarga. X is converted to X. So visargasya visargadeshaha bhavati. Sharpare visarjaniyaha is the sutram. So example over here, Ramaha kshatriyaha. What is the situation? You have a visarga, then you have a ksha, which is a ka plus sh. So you have a khar letter followed by shar letter. Ramaha kshatriyaha. Exactly like that. It remains like that. Visargasya visarga adeshaha kritaha. Kaha sarhu. Sarhu means khadga mushtihi, the handle of a sword, which is usually made up of wood. So that's called sarhu. So kaha plus sarhu, ta plus sa. So again, you have ta, which is a khar letter, followed by sa, which is a shar letter. So khar plus shar. Remain, the visarga will remain as it is. Adbhi psatam. Psatam ityukte bhuktam, khaditam. There is a dhatu called psa, to eat. So psatam means khaditam, bhuktam. Adbhihi ityukte jalena. Appa iti mulaha shabdaha. Appa ityukte jalam. Apaha is a well-known word. So appa tasya tritiya bahuvachanam adbhi. So something is eaten with food. So you take roti and you don't have curry or anything, just dip it in water and eat it. So adbhihi psatam, consumed with water. So atrapi pa plus sa. Pa is the khar varna, sa is the shar varna. The visarga remains as it is. So in these cases, the visarga remains as it is. The next rule, everybody knows this, visarga followed by ka or kha, visargasya vikalpena jivvamuliyaha bhavati. Vikalpena. So visarga will remain as an option. So Ramaha karoti becomes Ramah karoti. Jivvamuliya has happened, or Ramaha karoti. Finally, visargasya pa नोचेत् विसर्गादनन्तरं प नोचेत् फ अस्ति चेत् उपध्मानीयः विकल्पेन भवति. So Ramah pathati or Ramaha pathati. And the last rule, anyatra sarvatra. So remember, we are only talking from the khar set. From the khar set, sh, and s are gone. So kha, pha, cha, tha, tha, cha, ta, ta, sh, s are gone. So only varga prathama, varga dvitiya are remaining. Over there, the pa series is gone, the ka series is gone. So the only thing that is remaining is the cha series, ta series, and ta series. So anyatra sarvatra ityukte chakara, chakara, takara, thakara, takara, thakara. इत्यादिषु वर्णेषु परेषु विसर्गस्य नित्यं सकारादेशः भवति. So earlier it was optional, now it is compulsory. So nityam sakaradeshah bhavati. So this is the utsarga. This is given as the utsarga. So visargasya nityam sakaradeshah bhavati, and then other rules are given as apavada. So Ramaha tarati becomes Ramas tarati. So see what is happening in Ramas tarati. Rama plus Su plus tarati. Su becomes R. Rama plus R plus tarati. R becomes Visarga. Rama plus Visarga plus tarati. Visarga becomes S. Rama plus S plus tarati. Ramas tarati. Ramaha chinoti इत्यत्र रामश्चिनोति. विसर्गस्य सकारादेशः अग्रेश्चुत्वे कृते रामश्चिनोति. The sakaradesha is compulsory if there is samhita. Shtutvam is obviously compulsory. Ramah tikate ityatra ramastikate. Shtutve krute ramashtikate. So that's all about the Visarga Sandhi. Now we are only going to discuss the sutras. The sutras are going to be extremely easy, absolutely no complexity. The rules also are quite easy. Most of you already know it. I have summarized them over here. Ratnakar Mahoday.
Namaste, Acharya. Sorry that. Acharya, if I look at it, both 8335 and 8336 can be combined, no? Whether it is kar letter immediately after Visarga or shar letter immediately after Visarga, that is giving rise to Visargadesha or whatever modification is taking place. The same modification is taking place in both the sutras. Is that no?
No, in 8336 there is an optional sakaradesha. In 8335 it is a compulsory visargadesha. So sharpare visiti is kevalam visargadesha eva bhavati. So completely two different adeshas are there. We'll learn the sutras and then it will be more clear. Okay, I'm going to talk about the sutras. But before that,
and one more question, Achan. It's of the, if not of the this thing. Whenever any sandhi you look at it, whichever sutra that explains, probably that particular sandhi is embedded in that particular sutra.
Not like that. It's a good exercise to find such examples.
Correct.
But yeah, for example, Iko Yanachi does not have the Yan Sandhi in it, right? But yeah, it might be a good exercise to find out such examples. Sure. Any other questions before we go to the sutra? So all that we are going to do is look at these 4-5 sutras, Kupo, Kapaucha, Visarjanyasya, Saha, and so on, and we'll stop. So simple, starts with, so the section in Ashtadhyayi is also very useful to understand. So 8334 is the main sutram. Let's go all the way to 8334. If you go at 8334, Visarjaniyasya Saha. So Visargasya Sakaradesha bhavati. The default rule is Sakaradesha. Sharpare Visarjaniyaha Va Shari Kuppo Kapavcha. These are the 4 sutras that we are going to study, and then there was one Vartika. All other sutras are also in that particular section. Sopadado, Vinasha, Namaskura, Sorgatyo, and so on. But we are not going to study them. They are also conversion of Visargas only. So Visargasya kaha adeshaha agre bhavati. Ityasya bahava tra vishaya bahuni sutrani atra vartante. So Visarjanisa, Sharpare Visarjanya, and so on up to Adhashirasi pade kaskadishucha. Till this kaskadishucha point, there is different adeshas on Visarga given. But for now, in our course, I'm only going to talk first 4 sutras, Visarjaniyasya Saha, Va Sharpare Visarjaniyaha, Va Shari, and Kupoka Paucha. So, and then there is one Vartika. So then, let's start with the default sutram, Visarjaniyasya Saha, Khari, Visargasya Saha, Syat, Samhitayam. So, Visarjaniyasya Saha, Khar iti anuvartate, Khar ityasya Khari iti saptamya parivartanam bhavati. So, Visarjaniyasya Khari Saha, Khar varne pare Visargasya Sakaradeshaha bhavati. No brainer. So understand this, that when there is avasana, the Visarga will stop at it as it is. So when there is avasana, Visarga will be stopping at it as it is. There is no further transformation. When there is Khara letter, what is the whole story? Sa becoming Ra, becoming Visarga, becoming Sa again. So that's the Khari. So Khar varne pare Sakaradeshaha bhavati. Ramaha tarati become Ramastarati. So that's again very simple. And then this particular Sakaradesha might kick in Shtutvam and Shtutvam. So Cha varge pare Sakaradeshe krute tata Shtutvam bhavati. Ramaha chalati become Ramas chalati. So see, Ramaha chalati becomes Ramas chalati, becomes Ramas chalati. Even if I have written it as a single step over here, it is 2 steps. First Visarga to Sakara and then Sakara to Shakara. That also reminds me, in the introductory book, there will be a direct rule called Visargasya Shakaradeshaha, or there will be a rule called Visargasya Shakaradeshaha. So there is no Shakaradesha or Shakaradesha on the Visarga. The only Adesha is the Sakaradesha, and then Shutva gets causes that Sakara to get converted to Shakara, Shakara, and Shtutva gets it makes it Shakara. But eventually, but you always have to start with Sakara. So Ramas Chalati converted to Ramas Chalati. And similarly, Ta varge pare Shtutvam bhavati Ramas tikate become Ramas tikate. Let's also take a look at Badhya Badhaka Bhava, because this is the blanket Utsarga. Visargasya Sakaradesha bhavati. We have already seen all the other cases. I am just listing them down. If Khar Varnad Anantaram Shar Varnaha asti, Khar plus Shar, like Kshatriya or Tsaruhu, Psatam, and so on, then the Badhaka is Sharpare Visarjaniyaha, that makes Visarga retain as it is. Visarga becomes the Visarga. So Sharpare Visarjaniyaha. That's first of Badhaka. The second Badhaka is if that Khar Varna is Swayam Shar Varnaha. So Visarga plus Shara, like Sa, Sa iti asti, tarhi Va Shari ityanena Vikalpena Sakaradesha bhavati. So you have Ramaha Saha, becomes Ramas Saha or Ramaha Saha. So Ramaha Tarati compulsory Sakaradesha, but Ramaha Saha Vikalpena Sakaradesha. And then Asmat Sharvarnanantaram Kharvarna asti. So Sta, Stha, Shcha, and so on. तर्हि खरपरे शरीवा विसर्ग लोपो वक्तव्य इत्यनेन पक्षे विसर्गस्य लोपः अपि भवति. My favorite example, मनः स्थितिः, मनसः स्थितिः, मनः plus स्थितिः becomes a manas स्थितिः with actually a sakara. So sa plus sa, visarga is getting converted to sakara. Or manah sthiti, visarga remains as it is. Or manas sthiti, even the visarga goes all the way. So manas sthiti. Another favorite example, antasthaha, the ya, you have antar plus sthaha. The ra becomes visarga. Antaha plus sthaha. Visarga becomes a sa. Antas plus sthaha. And now you have sakara, the shar letter followed by the khar letter. So three choices. Antas sthaha with the sakara, or antasthaha with the visarga, or even simply antasthaha. Even that is a valid word. Antasthaha, the visarga has undergone a lopa because of kharpare shariva visarga lopo vaktavyaha. So that's one, that's the second badhya badhaka bhava, second badhaka. And the third is jivha mulya or upadmanya. So Ramaha plus karoti, ityatra sakaradeshaha na bhavati, Ramah karoti. So that's the jivha mulya. Ramaha pibati, ityatra Ramah pibati. So that's the upadmanya. So this way, these are all the badhya badhakas. These are all the badhakas which are actually given in the next three sutras. So Visarjaniyasya saha is the blanket utsarga. Then Sharpare Visarjaniya is the badhaka number 1. Vashari is the badhaka number 2, and Kupo Kapaucha is the badhaka number 3. Sharpare Visarjaniyaha is for those Kshatriyaha, Psatam, and so on. So Visarga is retained as it is. Vashari causes optional Sakaradesha. So Va, the sutra gives it all. Vashari, Sharvarne pare Vikalpena Sakaradesha. So Ramas plus Saha or Ramaha plus Saha. And Kupvau Kapaucha, this is again Chakarena Va ityasya anuvritti bhavati. So Kupvoho, so Ku and Pu ityasya vishaye jivha muliyah upadmanyah vikalpena bhavati pakshe visargaha eva tishtati. So let's now quickly look at the sutras. As I mentioned, very simple sutras. The next one is Sharpare Visarjaniyah, Sharpare Khari. So there is a Khar letter. So Sanyoga is there is a Khar letter, and then there is a Shar letter after that. So Khar plus Shar. Sharpare Khari. Shar paraha asti. Anantaram asti. Sharpare Khari. Samhitayam Visargasya Visargaha eva syad na anyad. So Sharpare Khari. Shar yasmat paraha asti. Tadrishaha khar varnaha asti. Ched Visargasya Visargadesha eva vidhiyate. So Ramaha plus Kshatriyaha becomes Ramaha plus Kshatriyaha. Visargasya Visargadeshaha eva bhavati. Now, why say Visargasya Visargadeshaha? Why not just say Kimapi Adeshaha na bhavati? The answer is that In case of Ramaha plus Kshatriyaha, the Jivha Molya was coming as another option. In case of Kaha plus Saruhu, the Sakara Desha was coming as another option. In case of Adbhihipsatam, the Upadhmaniya was coming as another option. Assuming that this sutra didn't exist, what would happen? In case of Ramaha plus Kshatriyaha, Jivha Mulya would come. In case of Kaha plus Taruhu, Sakara Desha will come. In case of Adbhihipsatam, Upadhmaniya will come. And what this sutra wants to do is it wants to block all of them. It wants to say, don't do Jivha Mulya, don't do Sakara Desha, don't do Upadhmaniya. Instead of saying don't do this, don't do this, don't do this multiple times, it finds a shortcut and it says just do Visargadesha, which effectively means don't do anything. So instead of doing 3 negations, Sharpare Visarjaniya, if Panini wanted to write this as a negation of 3 entities, then he would have created a bigger sutram. In order to avoid that complexity, see how brilliant thinking is going on over here. He just says, let me force a Visargadesha on a Visarga, which means everything else will automatically be blocked. So, atra nishedhasya sthane Visargadeshah kimarthamuktah idam sutram विसर्जनीयस्य सह तथा च कुपो कपौ च इत्येतयोः बाधकरूपेण प्रवर्तते. If he would have just said sharpare na, then it would have been only for the previous sutram. The previous sutram was visarjaniyasya saha, and then you say sharpare na. What it would mean? Visargasya yaha sakaradesha sa sharpare na bhavati. But that doesn't mean upadmaniya jivva mulya pi na bhavati. The next sutram kupo kapocha might give upadmaniya and jivva mulya for cases like kshatriya and so on. In order to avoid all that complexity and in order to affirmatively state that it is only the visarga that remains, everything else is blocked, Panini Maharshi actually does a positive reinforcement by saying visargasya visargadeshaha eva bhavati. So idam sutram visarjaniyasya saha tatha cha kupo kapau cha ityetayoh badhakarupeण pravartate. यदि अत्र केवलं निषेधः उच्येत तर्हि सः केवलं सकारम् एव बाधेत, जिह्वा मूल्यम् उपद्मानीयं वा नैव बाधेत, परन्तु द्वयोः अपि सन्दर्भेण अत्र बाधकत्वम् इष्यते. अतः विसर्गस्य विसर्गादेशः एव उक्तः अस्ति. So that's about sharpare visarjan. So simple sutram. The next is vashari. Shar varne pare vikalpena sakaradeshah bhavati. So vashari. Padacheda is vashari. Khar and so on is anuvrutti. Visarjaniyasya shari saha visarjaniyah va. Sakaradeshah api vikalpena. Visargas adeshah api vikalpena. So yadi visargat अनन्तरं शर्वर्णः अस्ति तर्हि विसर्जनीयस्य सह इत्यनेन प्राप्तं नित्यं सकारादेशं बाधित्वा प्रकृतसूत्रेण विसर्गस्य विकल्पेन सकारादेशः भवति. पक्षे विसर्गादेशः नो चेत् विसर्गः एव तादृशः तिष्ठति. सो रामः सः becomes रामः सः और रामः सः. Now previous sutram sharpare visarjaniyah says visargasya visargah bhavati. So what are the two options? विसर्गस्य सकारादेशः भवति और विसर्गस्य विसर्गादेशः भवति. Both of them are made optional by vashari. So sharvarणे परे either विसर्गस्य सकारादेशः or विसर्गस्य विसर्गः, which in practical terms mean visarga remains as it is. So विसर्गस्य विकल्पेन सकारादेशः भवति, नो चेत् विसर्गः तादृशः एव तिष्ठति और विसर्गस्य विकल्पेन विसर्गादेशः भवति. Whichever way you want to put it. So Ramaha Saha becomes Ramas Saha or Ramaha Saha. And then Shtutva and Shtutva, those will automatically happen. So Ramaha plus Shete, Visargasya Sakara Deshe Krute, Tatra Shtutve Krute, Ramashete. Ramaha Shashthaha, Ityatra Visargasya Sakara Deshe Krute, Ramas Shashthaha, Shtutve Krute, Ramash Shashthaha. And Pakshe Samhitayam api Visargasya Visargadeshaha eva bhavati or Visargaha tadrishaha eva tishtati. Both are same things given by Vashari. So that's Vashari. Let's talk about the Vartikam that we discussed. Kharpare Shariva Visargalopo Vaktavyaha. So if there is a Sanyoga, if there is a Shar letter after which there is a Khar letter, Yadi Shar Varnadantram Khar Varnaha Vidyate, तर्हि विसर्गस्य विकल्पेन लोपः अपि भवति. सो रामस्थाता Ramah sthata or Ramasthata. The visarga is completely gone. I have given the examples like manasthitihi and so on. Ramashchotati, Ramashthivati, and so on. These are various examples. We have already seen this. Last sutram, we finished what? Visarjaniyasya saha is done. Sharpare visarjaniyaha is done. Vashari is done. And the last sutram, kupvoho kapaucha. So अत्र किं भवति? विसर्गस्य विकल्पेन जिह्वामूलीयः नो चेत् विकल्पेन उपध्मानीयः. So this particular kupvoho इत्युक्ते क वर्गस्य प वर्गस्य च. This particular thing which has this symbol followed by k, this is the jivhamuliya. So jivhamuliya is a separate letter. We have seen this. Ayoga vaheshu pariganam bhavati tasya uchcharana sthanam api vishishtam asti jivhamulam. So for this particular jivhamuliya, there is no proper symbol. So we write it as like this. The half circles on the top and bottom, and there is k. And similarly, for the upadmaniya, same symbol. Sometimes people use this double kind of symbol, but it is gauna, it is not mainstream. In general, most of the books you will see this kind of symbol followed by p. Either is fine. I mean, the double one or the single one, both are acceptable. So that is the upadmaniya. And kuppoho, ka vargasya प वर्गस्य. सो कूपु उदित्करणं कृतमस्ति, अतः क वर्गस्य प वर्गस्य इति अत्र आशयः. But that k varga p varga is irrelevant because you have to have a khar letter in front, and khar letter is only k kh or p ph. So ku and pu are basically unnecessarily extra uditkaranam kritamasti. परंतु अनुवृत्ति सहितं सूत्रं विसर्जनीयस्य कुप्वोः सः. कु तथा पु वर्ग, पु इत्युक्ते क वर्गस्य वर्णः प वर्गस्य वर्णः इत्येतयोः उपस्थितौ सकारस्य जिह्वामूलीयः उपध्मानीयः विकल्पेन भवति. सो वा इति अपि अनुवृत्ति, I forgot I think over here. So विकल्पेन जिह्वामूलीयः उपध्मानीयः इति भवति. उदित्वात् सवर्णग्रहणं क वर्गस्य वर्णे परे प वर्गस्य वर्णे परे इति अर्थः. यद्यपि अत्र एतादृशं सवर्णग्रहणं क्रियते, तथापि विसर्गस्य निर्माणं खर वर्णस्य उपस्थितौ एव भवति. So that initial link we never have to forget. So खर प्रत्याहारे विद्यमानाः क वर्गीय वर्णाः, which is basically k or kh, and pa vargiya varnaha, which is basically p or ph. So basically he wanted to include kh along with k. That's why he did udit karanam. Similarly, he wanted to include ph along with p. That's why he did udit karanam. परंतु अनेन प्रकारेण अत्र परनिमित्त रूपेण स्वीक्रियते. So k pau. So kascha pascha, this is a simple dvandva sandhi. K iti jihvamuliyasya nirdeshah, p iti upadmaniyasya nirdeshah. This is the simple sutrartha. विसर्गस्य ककारे खकारे वा परे विकल्पेन जिह्वामूलीयः आदेशरूपेण विधीयते. पक्षे विसर्गः एव तिष्ठति. विसर्गस्य पकारे फकारे वा परे विकल्पेन उपध्मानीयः आदेशरूपेण विधीयते. पक्षे विसर्गः एव तिष्ठति. जिह्वामूलीय एग्जाम्पल्स आर रामः करोति, मुनिः खादति एंड सो ऑन. उपध्मानीय गौः पिबति, तरुः फलति एंड सो ऑन. अनेन प्रकारेण अत्र कुप्पो कपौ च इति सूत्रम् अस्य बाधकरूपेण शर्परे विसर्जनीयः इति प्रवर्तते. सो आई हैव एक्सप्लेन्ड दिस. अद्भिः प्लस सातम और अत्र और देयर वाज क्षत्रिय, रामः प्लस क्षत्रियः. अत्र उपध्मानीयं नो चेत् जिह्वामूल्यं बाधित्वा विसर्गस्य विसर्गादेशः एव भवति. So that completes the next sutram, kuppoh kapaucha. This way we have completed visarjaniyasya saha sharpare visarjaniya vashari kuppoh kapaucha, and that completes one of those four quadrants, namely the visargadeshaha. So ra ityasya visargaha tasya visargasya agre kim bhavati tat sarvam asmabhi adya asmin varge drishtam. Sasajushuruhu is the sutram that converts padanta sakara to visarga. Etattado sulopo akoranay samase hali is a special case where the padanta sa is removed. Kharavasani or visarjaniyaha is the creation of the visarga when there is a khar letter or a avasana, and that visarga is then further converted by four sutras. Visarjaniyasya saha sharpare visarjaniya vashari kupo kapaucha. This completes the discussion of one quadrant. Now we have three quadrants remaining where there is a padanta ra, tasya yakaradeshah, tasya ukaradeshah, and tasya lopaha, and none of that involves any visarga discussion. That is what we are going to look tomorrow. So tomorrow's class will be equally long and we will cover the remaining 3 cells of that particular matrix. Samapayama, here is the homework. Let me go through the homework and then I'll take questions. There are 10 prakriyas given. सर्वत्र पदांत सकारः नो चेत् पदांत रेफः अस्ति इति मत्वा प्रक्रियां लिखत प्रत्येकस्मिन् सोपाने उचितं सूत्रं तथा च तेन सूत्रेण क्रियमाणं कार्यम् एकवाक्येन लेखनीयम्. So sometimes I ask prakriyas without asking the ekavakyena karyam. Here I am asking prakriyas with ekavakyena karyam, not more than one sentence. So something like this: ससजुषोरुः इत्यनेन पदांत सकारस्य रुत्वम्, खरवसानयोर् विसर्जनीया इत्यनेन विसर्जनी खरवर्णे परे रेफस्य विसर्गादेशः. These kind of one line statements you have to write. Second question: विष्णु सहस्रनाम्नः उद्धृतानि अधोदत्तानि वाक्यानि यथाशक्यं विसर्गादेशं कृत्वा लिखत. विसर्गसन्धिं विहाय अन्यः कोऽपि सन्धिः न करणीयः. अपि च यत्र विसर्गादेशस्य एकाधिकाः विकल्पाः सम्भवन्ति तत्र केवलं ते विकल्पाः लेखनीयाः यत्र विसर्गः न श्रूयते. Hopefully the instruction would be clear. I have given an example. So Swayambhush, Shambhuraditya, Pushkarakshah, Mahaswanaha. I have specifically given the names separately. When you combine this, what is going to happen? Swayambhuhu plus Shambhuraditya. Visargasya Sakaradeshaha, Sakarasya Shakaradesha, Chutve. Swayambhush Shambhuraditya. Then there is a Visarga followed by Pa. Jivha Mulya will happen. Optionally, Visarga will also remain. But the instruction clearly says, यत्र विसर्गादेशस्य एकाधिकाः विकल्पाः सम्भवन्ति तत्र केवलं ते विकल्पाः लेखनीया यत्र विसर्गः न श्रूयते. So you don't write the visarga part, only write the upadhvanya part. So Shambhuraditya Pushkarakshaha. And in case of Pushkarakshaha plus Mahaswanaha, it is not possible that the visarga exists in presence of ma. So the fact that visarga is given means there is avasana, like Ramaha gacchati, so you cannot make any sandhi. So visarga sandhim vihaya anyaha kopi sandhi na karaniyaha. You cannot even make any sandhi over here because there is visarga right sitting over there because of avasana. So this way, I think 5 sub-statements are given. Sarvasharva Shivasthanur Ojas Tejo Dyutidhara. Ojas Tejo Dyutidhara. Udbhoksho Bano Deva Vivasayo Vivasthana and Udirna Sarvatash Chakshur Nishesha Shubhasira. So we'll attempt this exercise and you're here in this particular question, only the statement has to be written, no sutras, no prakriya, no explanation, nothing. Just do the required visarga sandhis and write the statement. That's it. Purnima Bhagini.
Namaste Mohdaya. Just I will go through the video once again and come back with any doubts. But as for now, I have just my understanding. Please correct me if it is wrong. So like Ramah Prathama Ekavachana Ramah Shabda the Avasane Avisargah Tatra. So depending on how the Visarga has come, we do the next Varna Vattaya, right?
Means?
Like अवसाने विसर्गः रामः तत्र यदि संहिता नास्ति चेत् रामः एव तिष्ठति. अग्रे कोऽपि वर्णः अस्ति, यदि संहिता नास्ति चेत् तत्र
रामः एव तिष्ठति.
विसर्गः एव. आम्. यदि वर्णः समथिङ्ग् खरिपरे विसर्गः तदनन्तरं सुषुरु दट् सूत्र विल् मेक् इट्स् like depending on next यदि संहितायाः विवक्षायां depending on the next varna we will make the changes.
But for example, if you have Ramaha plus say Mama, then you cannot have a samhita over here. That is the takeaway of today's class. Because if you ever have a samhita between the two, the visarga cannot even exist. Because visarga is generated only when there is a khar letter or when there is avasana. If you are saying the visarga is generated and there is makara in front which is not a khar letter, it directly means that the visarga was generated because of avasana. Otherwise, there is no pathway for visarga to get generated. So in a context, in a statement like Ramaha Mama, visarga is generated purely by avasana, which means technically there is Ramaha followed by avasana followed by Mama, which means there cannot be samhita, because samhita and avasana are opposite. Samhita is varnanam atishaya samnidhyam, avasanam is varnanam abhava. Clear?
अस्तु महोदय, समानः एव, लैक् रामः गच्छति तत्रापि अवसानः एव अस्ति, तत् वर्णव्यत्ययः न भवति.
अतः रामो गच्छति इति न शक्यते.
अस्ति अस्तु, धन्यवादः.
But please take a look at the presentation once again. The class is pretty big, so I'll also give larger amount of time for submitting the homework. But this is one of the fundamental discussions, the Visarga Sandhi. I hope all your doubts about Visarga Sandhi should have been completely clarified by now. If not, right now or tomorrow is the right time to ask questions about that. Ratnakar Mahoday.
I think I missed something. Now, in fact, Ramaha is basically Ramas, then comes the Ramar, then comes the Ramaha. Is
Correct.
that no?
Correct.
I think something I missed somewhere in between.
Okay, but this is the correct sequence. Ramas goes to Ramar, goes to Ramaha, assuming there is avasana or khar. So if you have Ramas gacchati, it will become Ramar gacchati, but it will not become Ramaha gacchati. It will be something else. Rama u gacchati, ukara desha bhavati. That will see.
Fine. Okay.
Geeta Bhagini.
Mahodaya, Ramas become Ramar. Ramar becomes Ramaha. I mean, like, it means that Rakara becomes Visarga. Not because of Avasana Visarga is there.
Where? What are you asking? You have
just,
Ramas.
Just now. Ramas plus becomes Ramar.
Ramar.
And Ramar becomes Ramaha.
No, wait. Ramas becomes Lamar. That is a property of Padanta Sakara. Anytime there is a Padanta Sakara, it will become Ramar. The R getting converted to Visarga is not the sole property of Padanta Repha. There must be a Khar letter or Avasana in front. Otherwise, you cannot get a Visarga. Clear? That's the difference. Yes. The first one is unconditional conversion. The second is conditional.
Okay.
Got it? These are very basic and important doubts, and make sure anybody who has such kind of questions, I'm here. I'm ready to answer whatever you want, have questions. If not, then we will stop. Ratnakar Mahoday.
Sorry, Acharya. Acharya, supposing we have to make the Rupasiddhi of Ramah Gacchati, we have to do like Ramas, then Ramar, then Ramaha Gacchati. That sort of this thing we have to obviously follow, no?
That's right. So if you have to do the
if at all I am doing Ramar Gacchati, sorry, Ramo Gacchati, there again Gunayaka Desha, that way it should.
Right. So if you want to do the Rupa Siddhi of Ramar Gacchati, you will start with Ramas Gacchati. You will go to Ramar Gacchati. But after Ramar Gacchati, the pathway differs. Right?
Now
if you want to go to Ramaha Gacchati, there is one pathway. Like for example, there are two trains which walk on the same track for some amount of time and then they diverge. Like that will happen over here. Clear?
Lot of confusion. Okay, fine. Now
that's okay. Okay, I'll make the PPT available. At least if you're not watching the class because it's 2 hours long, at least take a look at the PPT before tomorrow's class. It will be very useful.
Thank you.
Any further questions? I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have. Make sure that you have understood this complete pathway, and that particular matrix that I discussed before the break is one of the most important ones. Let me just put it on the slide once again and then we will conclude. This is the one. Only 4 possible adeshas. We covered one of them. The remaining 3 are the material for tomorrow's class. Okay, if there are no questions, then samapayamaha. अष्टाध्यायी जगन्माता यस्य चित्तात् समुत्थिता वेदानामुपकाराय तस्मै पाणिनिये नमः. शब्द ब्रह्म समाराध्य कृतवान्यो विलक्षणं सर्वाश्चर्यमिदं शास्त्रं तस्मै पाणिनिये नमः. येन धौता गिरः पुंसां विमलैः शब्दवारिभिः तमश्चाज्ञानजं भिन्नं तस्मै पाणिनिये नमः. धन्यवादः.